everyone, and welcome to another episode of Insufficient Friends. I'm Nikki. He's Kevin.
Hi.
If you can't tell, I did the intro today, and I think I didn't mess it up.
No, you did. You did good.
Kev's voice is feeling a little scratchy today, so if I'm talking more, that's why, but we'll still have fun. Are you feeling okay, though?
I feel probably better than I sound, but it's been the cough is sticking around, which is not fun, and my
Yeah.
voice keeps going in and out. So it's been a fun week, and
Fun
it's
week to have a
it's been
podcast
a
that you
great
have
week
to
to have a
talk.
podcast. Yes, yes, always great to do. An hour of talking when you can't talk. Actually, that brings me this morning. Our We'll talk about this in a sec because I wanted to talk about this with you. But we had a lot of snow here in Columbia overnight, and
Mhm.
our normal anchor has been out sick for the past couple days, and she came in today
Mm.
and kind of sounded like me, and I just was like, we all eventually convinced her and got her to agree that she wasn't going to be able to make it through 2 hours of talking on television without like either going through a coughing fit or with her voice just giving out entirely. So
Mhm.
if my voice just gives out entirely, I may start talking into the microphone like this, just because it might happen.
Yeah.
But anyway, we had
Mm.
some winter weather this week.
Yes.
I think we got 6 inches of snow on Sunday, and then another four today.
Yeah.
You guys got ice, and I saw a video from Kansas City of
Mhm.
like some dude bailing out of a car on an off ramp because he was gonna crash,
Yeah.
and you guys I think got it worse than
It
we
was
did.
bad.
Yeah,
Yes, we got more snow. It was like 10 inches or
yeah,
something crazy. All in one day, which it was like the highest concentration since 1982 of like the most snow in one day.
yeah.
Like obviously we've had 10 inches
Hmm.
before over the span of
A couple
two or
days.
three or
Yeah.
4 days. And then we got another 3 inches today. So we made it fine through the first couple days. I had plenty of water and food
Hmm.
and everything. Like we were good until today.
Yeah.
We woke up and a pipe had burst.
Oh, that's just a
But luckily, my dad came over. My dad is our savior in our family. So he came over and dealt with the plumber, and the plumber got out here really quick too. We were like second in line this morning. So
that's good.
all good now.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a pipe bursting is a pain. Like I'm sure it's a pain.
Yeah.
I've never actually dealt with it, but I'm sure it's just I
Yeah.
can't
It was
imagine.
like spraying.
Yeah.
Because Nathan woke up and saw it first because he wakes up before us and shut off the water line, but he took a video. It was like spraying up. Luckily, the laundry room where it burst is unfinished. It's just
Okay.
like a laundry area
Well,
and
that's good
it's
then.
concrete and there's a drain.
Okay.
So it was shooting like right into the drain. So
Okay.
we could not have got more
That's
lucky.
that's good. Then at least it didn't do a bunch of damage or anything. That's nice.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, because
Winter's fun.
that's what we're dealing with here. They got snow in Texas, which I think is funny because they don't do that very often. And then you've got the
Yeah. They're not set up
wildfires.
for it.
Yeah, no. And then you've got
Oh
the
my gosh,
wildfires in
yeah.
Los Angeles, which are just it's so sad
Mhm.
and like
It
devastating how
is.
bad those are. So thoughts to everybody
Yeah,
who's dealing with that kind of stuff. But um,
absolutely.
we're here to have fun more than that.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but Nick, other than that, did you have anything else crazy this week, or was it just the? Did you actually go anywhere with the snow and
No,
ice? Did Casey
no,
go to
I stayed
work?
home all week. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he went to work because part of his job is shoveling for the older folks
Okay, that
there
makes
at
sense. Yeah,
the complexes.
that makes
So
sense.
he has to be there. Nathan took off a day. He didn't go in on Monday when we had the biggest,
Yeah,
level of snow.
I had to do a 5 hour newscast that day, so we did more work. Whenever there's bad weather and stuff like that, that's when I have to do more work, which is always
Yeah,
a
it's
fun
not fun.
fun task. Um,
Yeah.
but anyway, I think we have a couple shout outs this week. You said you have a couple,
I don't
right?
have any.
You don't have any?
No.
I thought you said
We
you did.
had we had more likes. So I guess shout out to Stevie. Thanks for being on and
Yes.
the things we posted about the episode with Stevie got more likes. So the consensus is clear. Everyone loves Stevie. So I guess that's my shout out.
So I have three. One is the first one is from a little bit of stew. Is the YouTube user. He says, "Hey Kev, hey Nick, Happy New Year to you both, and greetings from the UK." Hey Stu,
Oh, Happy
greetings from the
New Year.
UK, greetings from the US. Here we are.
I want to be where you are, not here.
He says, "I've never had those Millions Iron Brew, and apparently they spell it different over there. It's IRNBRU instead of like
hmm
IRONBREW, whatever. Anyway,
Yeah.
he says they spell it different, but he says he loves the drink. Totally loved the drink aside from Cherry Coke Zero. So I guess he's a Cherry Coke
Mm,
Zero stan, which I totally get that. Cherry, like
yeah.
the like Diet Cherry, Pepsi, Coke, or whatever,
hmm
a wonderful drink. Cherry,
It is. Yeah.
yes.
Anything cherry flavored, I love.
Cherry flavored things. I don't like cherries. I don't like cherry pie. I don't like
Really?
cherries, but I do like cherry flavored things.
I love cherry pie and cherries. That was like my summer treat during like sports and things because
Okay.
it's kind of like watermelon.
Yeah.
They
See,
have like a high water content.
I don't
They're
like,
so
I
good.
don't like watermelon either.
Yeah, that one I get. I'm not a huge fan, but cherries are so good.
Okay. I'll
Mhm.
I'll take your word for it.
Anyways,
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
I love that
So
comment.
yes, thank you. Thanks,
Thanks for
Stu.
commenting.
Yes, thanks for commenting, Stu. Um, I also have two birthdays. One is my uncle. His birthday was on
Mhm.
Tuesday, so happy birthday, Uncle Doug.
Happy birthday.
And the other one, which leads us into our topic for this week, is Princess Kate turned something yesterday. I just saw it
Mm.
on like Good Morning America or whatever that popped it up real quick, and I was like, oh, we're talking about that this week. I should write that down. And
Yeah, that's
that was the
funny.
extent. So to somebody who will probably listen, my uncle and Stu, hopefully you listen to this as well or you enjoy watching
Yeah.
this, and then to somebody else who will never in her life hear anything that we have to say
Yeah.
in the Princess of Wales. So anyway,
Mhm.
that leads us into our topic for this week, which is royal lineages, royal
Yeah,
families,
royal families.
royal families.
Yeah, I just think it's so interesting because we hear about the British royal family so much, which we're going to talk about a little bit. But
Hmm.
I also have two others. Obviously, there's way more than that, but
Yeah.
I chose two others that were just interesting that I don't think people talk about a lot,
Okay.
unless you're like from that area or have studied them or, whatever. Um, but we'll start with the British royal family. So I always thought they were interesting, and I used to have a bunch of like British flags and things like that because I feel like they are by far the most popular, at least, to people like us in our region. The only royal
Yeah.
family we think about is the British royal family.
For the most part, yeah.
Um, yeah, obviously there's others, but this is like everyone talks about them, especially when you have things like Meghan and Harry getting married. When there's
Hmm.
like pop culture tied
Yep.
in there as well, they become really, a talking point. But I think it's interesting to look at their history. But obviously right now, so King Charles the third,
Hmm.
yeah, is the current reigning member. Um, so the family is actually pretty expansive. Like when I look at the family tree, it's wild. I mean, like there are like 30 people in line for the throne
Hmm.
because their family is like massive when you think
Yeah.
of all
Because
the, offshoots.
Charles has is it a brother and two sisters, two brothers and a sister, something
Hmm
like that. He's got a few
Yeah.
siblings, and then
Yeah.
each of them have kids, and then
hmm
I mean you've got Harry and William who now both have kids. Um,
Yeah.
the only question though is like you know like William, no, well not William, like Harry's kids. Harry's kids are
hmm
never going to be king. Like
Yeah, they're
it's
sixth and seventh in line.
yeah. Like would that would you care? Would that like be would that be kind of like, oh man, I'm never gonna get to be I'm like part of this thing, but I'm never gonna get to be that. Like,
I don't know. I
never
feel
gonna
like
get to
you
be
get a
the
lot of the
one.
fame.
Yeah,
Yeah, you get a lot of the fame without a lot of the work, maybe.
I guess. Yeah,
You can just be focused on like their nonprofits and things, the
this. Yeah,
things that, someone who's actually ruling, which I know they don't really rule, but
that,
the head of the monarchy or whatever you would call it, the king and queen, they don't have a lot of the time and they can only dedicate their efforts so much in so many places. So I
hmm
feel like if you were a couple down in the lineage, you'd have way more time to focus on nonprofits that you care about instead of having to like do certain events and certain things, and
yeah,
you
that's
still
true.
get a lot of the name.
Yeah.
But I don't know, that's how I would see it if it were me. But I'm not. I'm probably like 3 millionth in line for the throne.
Hmm.
But
I don't even know if you're.
so
I don't even know if you're that high.
no, I don't think so. Probably way further down. Yeah, so Prince William is
hmm
first in line,
Yep.
obviously, and then it goes to Prince George, his
hmm
son. Um, now who? I don't even know who's number two actually. Prince Charlotte is three.
Well, Prince George is
Who the
two.
heck is two?
William's one. George is two.
Oh
Charlotte's
yeah,
three. Yeah.
yeah. So William one, George two, Charlotte three, and
hmm
then Prince Louis is four. So their kids. And then after their kids, it goes to Prince Harry.
hmm
And then it goes to Archie and Lilibet.
Yep.
So Prince Harry is five, Archie's six, Lilibet's seven.
And then
Um,
it goes to like Charles's
Prince
kids, brother's
Andrew,
kids.
Duke
Yeah.
of York. Yeah.
hmm
And then it goes on down from there. So there's like really distant cousins that are like 29th and 30th that are the same age as me. But yeah, it's super interesting. I'll post like the tree, but it's so expansive. It's
Yeah.
so fascinating. But
The
they've
other.
been in power for a long time.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't know how long exactly the Windsor family. Did you look up to see how long the Windsor family has been in power?
Um, yeah. So 1901, technically, so the House of Windsor has been the reigning royal family of the United Kingdom since 1901, when the last monarch of the House of Hanover, Queen Victoria, died. So it was House of Hanover,
Okay.
and then House of Saxe-Coburg, which was the name of the House of Windsor, and then they changed the name officially in
So
1917.
they've
So
served
since
like
1901.
two little stints then if they were the
Yeah.
leaders before. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know
So,
that. I actually thought
but
they'd
it's,
been leading that country for longer than that. So, which
yeah. I
considering
mean, they're all descended from the same lineage.
yeah,
It's just different offshoots of the
yeah.
families and different cousins. So, like what I've always known and read about, because my favorite royal family lineage to like learn about and read about is obviously Stuart.
We
And
know.
so James the First, so he was like James the Sixth of Scotland, but James the First of England when he became King of England and
Mhm.
united
Yeah.
the thrones.
In the eighteen
So
hundreds, 1500s. Sorry,
yeah.
1500s. Late
Um,
1500s, early
yeah, and so like
1600s.
I like tracing it back to that and learning about that. But technically this offshoot has been since 1901.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Which
But
is amazing that Elizabeth II was like 70 something years of that.
yes. Yeah. And Queen
three
Elizabeth
quarters,
II,
3/4 of that 100 years was
yeah.
her.
I know it's wild. I mean, that was just an amazing rule, but yeah, and she traces her lineage directly back to Mary Queen of Scots. So like even though their House of Windsor has only been ruling since 1901, I mean they have direct relations all the way back.
Yeah.
Um so it's just fascinating, but they're kind of the most popular that you hear on like social media and pop culture, I feel like.
Yeah, for like
But
for as far as royal families go, because there's
yeah,
still other ones around, but I don't I don't know what it is about theirs that just seems to stay top of
so
mind.
popular. Yeah.
So yeah, so high in the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
Um, I
Um,
have another question for you though. I don't know if you're getting ready
mhm.
to go, but before we go into a different lineage or a
Yeah.
different monarchy, King Charles is 76 years old. So he took the throne at 70. He
Yes.
took the throne at 75.
Yeah.
If you were going to be queen,
Hmm.
what is like your what do you think would be the best age to take that role would be? Because I wouldn't think you'd want to be too young because then you got to deal with,
Yeah.
uh, but you don't want to like. I mean, I
Hmm.
understand that Charles is like you're still the king, so it's but like dude's 75 years old, like not young.
Yeah.
In the ending stages of his life to
Hmm.
be as a monarch. Not that he actually, like we said, has any power anymore, but
Yeah.
it's so
I
if you
don't
were going
know.
to be
I feel like,
a ruling queen, what do
yeah,
you when would like what age would you want to be?
my gut thought is 35
Okay.
because I feel like your frontal lobe has developed
Okay.
and you're like a functioning human. Because for women, it's like 28, 29. I think that happens. Men, it's older.
Yeah.
But I think around
We're a little
35.
we're a little slow. It's just the way it
I
is.
wasn't gonna say it. Just kidding.
I'll say
um
it. I'll say it for us. We're a little slow. It's just the way it is.
no comment. But I feel like around 35, and isn't 35 also the age of like the presidency? Is it
Yeah, you have
35?
to be 35 to be
Yeah.
president.
I
Yeah.
feel like that's a good age because you've had life experience. By that time, you have some trajectory in your life. You've found your interests and your passions. Well, I shouldn't say that's universal. Not everyone has found that, but a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's kind of the time where I feel like you've had enough life experience to be able to impart wisdom on others. If you're too young, you don't have any wisdom to impart or any life experience to go on,
Yeah, you're also
for
a
the
little
most part.
big headed for something like that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, if you're too old, you have so many biases
Hmm.
about the world and you're so set in your routines and your
Hmm.
ways that it could be a detriment to you.
Yeah.
Granted, they don't really have any power nowadays, but
No,
like
but
theoretically, if you were like actually ruling, I
back
think
in the
around
day, it might have
35.
been an issue. Yeah.
Yeah. But
If you would have lived that long,
yeah.
lifespan has gone up a little bit. So, but
Hmm.
anyway, I just wondered. I thought that would be an interesting question because like he was
It is. What
75.
do you think is the right age?
I would say probably around the same, 30, 35, something like that.
Mhm.
That's a good age. You've probably got like somewhat of your life established. Like most people are, well, not so much anymore, but a lot of people are going to have, gotten married, been in a,
Yeah.
stuff like that. They've kind of got all their ducks in a row. And like you said,
Yeah.
they're a little, people
And
are,
like you don't even have to be, married and
no.
settled, but I feel like that's around the age where you at least know like this is what I might be doing with my
Mm-hmm.
life and not even that and like not even careers, just you've developed your passions and
Mm-hmm.
interests and you've had enough experience, I think, just in life in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right.
I will say that this year, I became old enough to be president of the United States because I am now 35.
Mhm.
That was a weird one when I hit that one. I don't know why it was a weird one, but I
Yeah.
thought about that several times as I was over the summer and right
Do you
after I
think
got there.
35 is worse than 30?
I
Like turning 35?
I mean, I don't really care either way because it's just another year to me, but this
Hmm.
is the one that I recently seems to be the one that I've thought about the most. So I'm like,
Really?
holy crap, I'm old enough to be the president. That's
That
flipping
was
crazy.
your trigger moment.
Yeah, I don't know why. And maybe it's just because it was an election year and like everything was ramped up, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe that is part of it too. But just the fact that I turned this year old enough to be the president of the United States was a little bit of an interesting a little bit of an interesting
Yeah.
age thing for me. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'll probably hit that age and like have a not a midlife crisis, like a breakdown, probably. No, I don't think I will. I feel like as I get older, I don't freak out because I'm getting closer to 30
hmm,
and a lot of my friends are freaking out. And I'm like, I think it's just I don't know.
it's
I
just
view aging as like a positive
yeah,
thing.
it's
Like
just part of
you're
life.
growing,
Yeah,
you're spending time with friends and family you
yeah,
love and making memories while you have time here because we don't know if we're going to live to 90. We don't
no,
know if we're going to live to tomorrow.
yeah,
So I guess I never really freaked out about it as much as other people seem to. I
yeah,
get why they do, but
yeah.
I think I just don't view it the same way.
People have a lot of people are afraid of death.
Yeah.
And I get that. Like it is a scary concept. Man, this got deep, didn't it?
I was just gonna say, well,
This
how did
is
we get
this
here?
is like a lot of people are afraid of death, and I understand that. Like that's that's
Yeah.
a
Hmm.
difficult thing to comprehend that it's just kind of over. But
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, I don't. I'm not gonna say I want to die. I don't want to die, but like
Yeah.
it is what it is. Like it it is what it is. Like
Hmm. I mean, every human in existence has died.
yeah,
So
yeah, pretty much
if billions of other human species have died, why are we any different? But I get
exactly.
it because we are like philosophical type people that want
Mhm.
to be here and make an impact, whatever your motivations in life are. But I'm just like, you know what? I love my family and friends. I love my dogs, and they all know it. And I tell them every day. So,
Yeah, that's all you can do.
mhm.
Anyway,
Anyways, next
next
royal
royal family.
family.
Yes,
Okay, so this one I just always thought was interesting. The House of Habsburg.
I've never heard of this
So,
one.
never heard of
Never
it?
heard of this one.
Okay, so they are famous for inbreeding. And their line like ended because of
Oh, they
it.
oh hold on. So they like inbred themselves out of existence? Dang.
Yes.
Okay. Because I
Yes.
was gonna make a joke that aren't all of them a little bit of like a little bit,
Yeah.
um, you know,
Especially back in the
yeah,
line.
you go
Hmm.
back and it's like, oh well, we have to marry royal blood, so like your
Yeah.
cousin is gonna be here and you're gonna yeah. So
Yeah. Hmm.
I know that that was a thing back then, trying to preserve
Hmm.
the royal bloodline. I didn't
Yeah.
know there was a family that did it so poorly that they ceased to exist.
Yes, literally. And so the Habsburg
Okay.
family, so they ruled, where's my dates? They ruled Austria from 1282 until 1918. They controlled Hungary and Bohemia from 1526 to 1918. They ruled Spain and the Spanish Empire. Like they had a lot of offshoots, but the peak was in the 16th century, and then yeah, they've just fizzled out literally.
12
But
hundred to
they were
1918?
most what?
1200 to 1918? That's a long time.
Yes,
Yeah,
very
that's a
long time.
very long
So
time.
they ruled for an extremely long time.
Yeah.
But there's literally an article from 23andMe, and I'll get to it in a second, but it's kind of about how they think that they literally bred themselves out of existence. But so some of them were good rulers. I feel like they get overshadowed by all this inbreeding stuff. Some of them were actually
Probably.
genuinely good rulers, like historically. I'm not saying they were good people, but like
Yeah.
historical um rulers, and some weren't. But um a lot of them had physical ailments, such as jaw deformities. So it's literally called the Habsburg jaw.
Okay.
And I'll have to post a picture of this because like it's crazy. And many of them had this. It like protrudes out.
Hmm.
Um, they had higher mortality rates than like any other, normal families or other royal families over the years,
Yeah.
statistically.
That makes sense with yeah.
Lots of mental disabilities too, and physical disabilities.
Okay.
They had extremely long noses.
Hmm.
Big lower lips, and then yeah, the Habsburg jaw. So
Interesting.
I'll post a picture. Like it truly is crazy. Um, so yeah, 23andMe has like a whole article about it, which I think is funny.
Hmm.
But by the end of the 17th century, is that the 1800s or 1600s? Is it forward or
Um,
back?
20th is night. 20th century is 19, so it's a year before. So 17 would be 1600s. Yeah, 17th century would be
Okay,
1600s.
so by the end of the 1600s, then, um, 23andMe says the results of their marital practices had become strikingly apparent. Family members had distinctive protruding lips, a high rate of infant mortality, and a host of other health problems. So, like, it's not just one person, it's the whole entire family.
Okay.
Um, and they speculate, some scientists speculate that this led to like their fall and decline
Hmm.
and now irrelevance and they're gone. But this is the craziest. So Charles II is the most well known. Like if you know the Habsburg family and have seen pictures of them, you've seen a picture of Charles II. He's the most well known
Okay.
because so this is so bad. I shouldn't be laughing, but he was the final king of Habsburg king of Spain. And so after him, their reign in Spain ended. Um, reign in Spain. The reign in Spain falls mainly in the plain. Anyways, he was known as El Hechizado, which is the hexed. Like because he looked so deformed and had physical and mental disabilities, like severe. So
So
if you've seen a picture, you've seen his portrait.
so basically they just
And I'll
thought
post
he
it.
was cursed is what it was.
Yes, literally, like
Interesting.
he could barely speak. He could barely eat. He had stomach problems.
Hmm.
Um, he was most likely autistic. Like there were he was king and just absolutely insane. And
You
let's
said
see,
you
he
said
died in the 1700s.
yeah, you said you have a question for us later that's a little more in depth than what I'm going to say right now, but it
Hmm.
was what royal family you would want to be. Not that one. Not no, not
Yeah.
that one. Nope.
Yeah. So it's fascinating. They ruled for so long in different sporadic areas, but
Hmm.
um and this is like a horrible description of their family because I'm not even talking at all about their achievements or anything. They're just
Yeah,
very well known for the Habsburg jaw.
yeah.
So,
Never heard of
yeah.
them. Interesting.
It's a German dynasty, so they're mostly like German, Austrian,
Mm-hmm.
Hungarian, but then they also had the Spanish rulers, which are the ones that most people know when they see them.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, so
Interesting.
that's the Habsburgs,
Yeah.
just a bastardized version
Just
of
yeah.
their family
Hey,
history.
remember,
Okay, so the
remember,
last one,
remember.
we're insufficient.
Insufficient. Insufficient. It's right
Don't
there.
yell at me. I know we're
It's right there.
insufficient.
Insufficient friends. Insufficient friends. That's the title. Remember? Okay.
Yes.
You know who
Okay.
you know who you are. Anyway.
I know the one commenter we had, but that's okay. Okay, so the Imperial House of Japan. This one was super interesting because I don't know a lot of Japanese history. I feel like I know more modern Japanese history
Hmm.
than like ancient and like long-standing, I guess.
They
Like I could probably tell you more about their gangs in the 80s and 90s than I could about their
they just got a new
dynasties.
emperor relatively recently, I think, didn't they?
2019.
Yeah, because
Hmm.
I remember watching a little bit of the ceremony and that going on
Yeah.
for when that happened.
Um, so Naruhito is the current emperor of Japan. So in 2019 in May, his father, Akihito, abdicated the throne.
Hmm.
And so then he became the remaining monarch. And I did not know this. I didn't know Japan was a constitutional monarchy. So
Hmm.
it's not
Yeah.
the same as the British monarchy, but it's kind of the same setup. Like they um, aren't necessarily like just a monarchy. But very interesting. I loved reading about them and the chrysanthemum throne which is where that's like the throne they do the ceremonies
Mm-hmm.
on, and they did the ascension ceremony on this throne. It is gorgeous.
Oh
Oh my
yeah,
gosh, it's
I'm
like the
sure.
most intricate thing. So I'll have to post a picture of that too. But it just like looks, if you told me like to think of in your mind, like visualize an ancient Japanese throne, it's like massive and gorgeous and ornate. It's so pretty.
Yeah,
I
that's cool.
think it's in the Imperial Palace.
I
Yeah,
That would make sense.
Kyoto Imperial Palace. Um, but yeah, so the the Imperial House of Japan was founded in 660 BCE is when they estimate it to have started because they have some somewhat differing like
Mm-hmm.
written records,
Yeah,
but it's somewhere BCE. So 660 BCE is what this website said.
which is
Emperor Jimmu,
almost 3,000 years ago.
yes, so it is the longest reigning monarchy in the world,
Yeah.
which is fascinating. Oldest surviving monarchy in the world. It's a parliamentary democracy with a ceremonial monarch
Mm-hmm.
who is the emperor.
Yeah, which is basically
And
what
so,
the UK is. So it's the same
yeah,
idea.
yeah, similar setup, just
Mm-hmm.
different culture.
Yep.
Um, in Japanese mythology, the emperor can trace his lineage to the first emperor Jimmu, who was the 660 BCE. There's just a little bit differing dates, but he is said to have descended from the sun goddess. I'm going to pronounce this wrong, so I apologize, but Emma Amaterasu.
Okay.
So that's super cool because in like European cultures and everything, you have like ruling by divine right, and
Mm-hmm.
then you had the differing sects of Catholics and Protestants and the duels there, and who was truly had the divine right. And so it was really interesting. I read for like 20 minutes just about their version of the divine right and the sun goddess, and it's just fascinating to learn about um, a house that I had never really I've heard of them, but never like researched them or
Yeah.
anything. Researched is a horrible term for what I
Yeah,
did. I
that's not
scrolled through
research.
social
Yeah,
media
you
and
read.
Google.
Yeah, you read for 20 minutes on Google. Yep. Mm-hmm, yep. That's what
Yeah,
we do.
yep,
Again,
but
insufficient.
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 But super interesting. So, yeah, they're the longest standing monarchy. So that was cool. I just thought it would be fun to walk through like the most famous, at least the most like pop culture famous
Yeah.
nowadays is the British monarchy.
Mm-hmm.
The most interesting to me, which is the Habsburgs,
Yeah.
and then
The
one I didn't know much about,
longest
which was
reigning.
Japan.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
like I said, I remember that one changing over. Like you said in 2019,
yeah.
I remember that happening um, vaguely. I mean, I didn't,
Hmm.
obviously see a ton of it. And then I remember Charles, obviously taking over the throne after
Yeah.
Elizabeth II died, but
Yeah.
which was more recent.
Do
That
you
was
have a
last year.
favorite, or like did you only know like the British, or how many like royal families did you know, or do you have a favorite that you like to read about or hear in the news?
I mean, the only one you really hear about in the news is the British one.
Hmm.
Unless something happens with the Japanese one, or there was a king that abdicated the throne relatively recently and gave it to his son. I don't even remember what country it was. I believe it was a
Hmm.
European country, but I don't remember exactly. So there's more of them than I realized is what I've
Yeah.
learned. There's more of them that are still around than I realized. But
Yes.
at this point, again, most of
Same.
them are not actually like full on rulers. They're kind of
Hmm.
uh, a, a, a face of a nation more than they are an actual leader.
Yeah. Hmm.
But no, yeah, there's not any that again, I think the one that obviously is the most common is the British one. Any
Hmm.
in the U.S. anyway. I don't know
Yeah.
about in Japan. I'm sure their imperial family is a big thing over there.
Yeah.
But over here, the British royal family, the Windsors are about the only one that you ever hear much about.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
and I don't really know how
Yeah.
they got to that. I don't really know what made them get to that point.
Hmm.
I'm sure there was a combination of things. I'm sure, Japan being one of the Axis powers in World War II probably didn't help their role to get into be, a big part of the, you know, thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, um, yeah, that's that's my thought. I
I
don't.
always liked reading about, well, you know this. I always like reading about the Stuart
Yeah.
um, dynasty and because obviously that's where Mary Queen of Scots descends from, and then James, who was the one that united the what is now the British thrones. But also the Tudors are interesting, and Henry VIII and his many wives, and there's a couple that I've always liked to watch shows and
Hmm.
read about and things like that. But definitely Mary Queen of Scots for some reason always stuck out for me. Maybe it's because she was beheaded and I don't know. I don't know what it was about her specifically, but I love learning about her like political beliefs and her family and her descendants and what she
Well,
did while she was ruler and her kids and
your
or kid.
family was from Scotland. Like your
Yeah.
yeah, your
My
lineage goes back to
grandma's
Scotland.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that
my
might be
grandma's
that might
lineage.
be part of it. One.
Yeah. But I
Um.
also have lots of British. I mean, I have just as much British and Irish as Scottish.
Okay.
Um,
Mhm. Oh.
and it's like basic because they did an ancestry test
Hmm.
swab, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, the percentages are a little bit different, but it's basically like a fourth German, a fourth British, a fourth Irish, and a fourth Scottish. But for some reason, that Scottish one always felt, I don't know. This is getting really like philosophical, but have you ever had a place besides Main Street Disney that like screams home or that like you just feel so drawn to it? Because for me, that was Scotland. I don't know why, but over Ireland, over, England, over
No,
Germany,
not
Scotland just screamed to me.
not that I've no, not that I've been to. There's not any place that I can think of that's just like this is where I'm supposed to be.
Hmm.
Um.
Just Disney.
Yeah. I mean, even I mean, I enjoy going to Disney, but even Disney's
I know.
like it's a fun place for me to go, but there's not really any place that I've ever felt like this is this is where I feel at home. Like I mean, I'm that sounds really bad. I feel like that sounds like I'm in a crisis or something. I'm not. Like I feel at home in my home right now, fine. But like
Yeah.
there's not any place that has ever just like called to me to be like I have to go
Mhm.
here.
Yeah.
I mean, Disney's
It
the
can
place
also
that
be
I
just
travel to
because
the
I'm a
most.
really dramatic and emotional person.
That is very possible. That is very, very, very possible.
So I'm always like, oh, it's speaking to my soul, but lots of things speak to my soul. I mean, I just had a croissant that really spoke to my soul
Ah, hey,
for dinner. But
croissants are wonderful. So I get
they
that.
are. Oh my gosh.
Oh
The
man.
last royal family type question I have for you before we play a game is so they obviously, depending on the country and the line, they have different titles.
Mhm.
And some of them I think are really cool, and some of them I'm like, I don't know if I'd want that. So, is there like a specific title that you like
I think
more than
I think
others?
Pharaoh. I think
Yeah,
Pharaoh is
I
one
like
of
that
my
one too.
favorites. Czar is
Yeah,
also a fun one.
it
Um,
is. It sounds so like strong.
yeah, but I don't.
Yeah,
But Pharaoh's probably number one. Pharaoh is
yeah,
is
I
probably
like
for me the number
Pharaoh.
one.
Um, I think Empress or Queen were my top two. Um, I think for me, in my like background, in my like most of the royal families I've ever read about are from Europe.
Hmm.
I never did much reading on Asian or the Middle East and like different shahs and things. So for me, Queen always held like that power
Yeah.
in that word. So I think that would be.
Yeah,
Mine.
I think Pharaoh is
But
the if I had to pick a word, I think Pharaoh
hmm
is the one that sounds
yeah.
most ring
It
gives
sounds
the most
like
ring.
mystical
Like
and
yes,
powerful.
yes, like
Yeah.
I am Pharaoh Kevin.
I don't know if Kevin sounds so good with Pharaoh, but I like
Well,
the
you
Pharaoh
know,
part.
I'll have to work on the actual name, but I am Pharaoh.
Yeah. Yep. Love it.
Oh, good lord.
Okay. You want to play a game?
Sure, let's do it.
So
My voice
this
is
is
still going,
called,
so we're good right now.
I know we're good. This is called Fit for a King, in parentheses, or Queen. The
Okay.
British royalty quiz.
Okay.
Okay. So in 1917, the
Oh
British
no.
royal family changed its name to Windsor because their old name, and this is multiple choice, was adopted by a different royal family, was being used as a slur, sounded too German, or took too long to say.
Uh, you said what? 1917?
Hmm.
That would have that would have been around World War One, right? I'm gonna guess German. It sounded too German.
Yes. Yep. So the former royal family name, it was Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, was replaced because of anti-German sentiment.
Okay. It's
Yeah.
also very long, and I can understand the being long to say
It
thing
is
too.
very long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I always wondered that, about hyphenated names.
Hyphen
Like,
hyphen.
I didn't take
Yes.
Casey's last name. And so I'm like, well, if we ever had a kid, would we hyphenate it? But what if their kid has a kid and it's hyphenated and then it keeps going on? You're gonna have like 20 names.
Yeah.
So I get why they replaced it. But
Yeah.
anyways. Okay, so this should be an easy one because we talked about it. After King Charles III, Prince William is next in line.
Mm-hmm.
Who is after him?
George, his little
Yeah.
his oldest boy.
Yep.
But
Okay.
it would have been whichever one because I think it was before they were born. They changed the proclamations or whatever to where it would have been the
Mhm.
firstborn boy or girl because I remember that being a thing
Yes.
because it was the firstborn
Yes.
boy, but they've changed
Firstborn
that.
male.
It's now the firstborn child.
Yes. Japan still follows the firstborn male. It can only be men. I think most other countries have changed that
Hmm. Okay.
from what I've read. Most European countries. I don't know much about the Middle Eastern monarchies, but okay. So the only British king to willingly abdicate, Edward the Eighth, I had to count, left the throne because A,
Roman
he
numerals are
hated the
hard, folks.
extravagant lifestyle. He fought a disastrous battle. He wanted to marry a divorcee, or he was caught embezzling money.
What were the first two again? I was making a joke as you were talking, and I kind of forgot
Oh,
what
I
they
didn't
were.
hear it.
I said Roman numerals are hard.
Oh, it just takes me a second to count them and then we're good. Um, so the first two were he hated the extravagant
Yeah, I
lifestyle
doubt
or
that
he
was it.
fought a disastrous battle.
I'm gonna guess that one. B.
The
The
battle,
battle. Yeah.
it was actually he wanted to marry a divorcee.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
he was having a love affair with American divorcee Wallace Warfield Simpson
Hmm.
and was this was considered unseemly because she was a divorcee.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
So he left the throne. Oh, he left the throne to marry her, making his brother king, who was Queen Elizabeth II's father.
Oh. Okay. Interesting.
Okay.
So
So
that's where we got
be
to that. Okay.
yeah, that's pretty recent,
Yeah.
historically at least.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because America hasn't been around that long. So
Yeah.
duh, I should have thought of that.
Couple hundred years.
Um, before marrying Prince Charles in 1981, Lady Diana Spencer had what job? Business CEO, flight attendant, preschool assistant, or fashion model.
Uh, I'm just gonna guess fashion model. I don't really know, but
No, preschool.
okay,
Yeah,
that was my other
she was a
guess.
preschool teacher.
Was gonna be my
Mm-hmm.
other guess. I know Kate was a
Yeah.
fashion model, I think, or she did do some
She was a
modeling.
socialite for
Yeah,
sure. I don't know
she did
exactly what
some
her jobs
modeling,
were,
but
but yeah. Um, Interesting. Preschool. Okay. Next question. British monarchs have frequently celebrated what occasion two different times a year? Christmas, Easter, New Year's Day, or their birthday?
I think it's their birthday, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, because they
In
do.
17,
Go
what?
ahead, go ahead.
Oh, in 1748, it says George the Second, I don't know that one, decided that his November birthday was too cold for a proper celebration. This is funny. I haven't read this before. He made his official birthday the second Sunday in June to coincide with the military parade. Since then, monarchs born in chillier months have taken advantage of the double
I
birthday.
I remember I remember there being multiple celebrations for Queen Elizabeth a few times where it's like you have one at one time
Yeah.
and then one at another, and I don't.
I thought it was going to be like the day they took over the monarchy or something, but no, it's just because it's too cold.
Yeah. Hey, gets cold up there
Yeah.
in the Isles. I don't,
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. I'm not doing
Okay,
very good at this
so
quiz. I'm not doing very good at all of this
that's
quiz.
okay. I'm not keeping score. We're just having fun.
Okay.
Um, the male heir to the British throne is traditionally given what title? Prince of York, Prince of Sussex, Prince of Wessex, or Prince of Wales?
Wales.
Yep.
Yeah.
First bestowed in 1301.
Hmm.
I
That
guess
actually
that's
that
when
dates
King
back a
Edward the First
ways.
conquered Wales.
Okay. That dates back a ways.
Oh,
I
and
didn't realize that.
executed its last prince, and then gave the title to his own son. So that's why we have the Prince of Wales,
Okay.
because they executed the last one and just took it
And then just took it
over.
over, and that's now the next in line. Yeah, because Charles was the Prince of Wales before he became king, and now William is the Prince of Wales. So
Yeah, lovely. Okay. Queen Victoria helped popularize what fashion trend? Wearing pastels at Easter, wearing a watch on the non-dominant wrist, wearing high-heeled shoes, or wearing a white dress on your wedding day.
I wearing a white dress on your wedding day. I'm gonna do a little breakdown here because I don't know how you could popularize that unless you had a lot of weddings. It's like just doing it once doesn't seem like that's enough to. I mean, maybe because you're queen, maybe it is, but
Mm-hmm.
doing it once doesn't seem like that. I think the pastels on Easter would be my guess. Wearing pastels on Easter, but I'm wrong. That's not surprising because this
Yep.
quiz is not going well.
It was wearing a white
Really?
dress.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, because I would
So this
like
says before this, they just wed in whatever they consider to be their finest gown. Mhm.
interesting. I mean, that makes
Yeah.
sense, but I would
So Mary
just
Queen of Scots wore a white wedding dress, and it was like she was highly criticized for it. So because white used to be a symbol of mourning. This doesn't say this. This is just something I've read in the past. White in a lot of countries was the color of mourning,
I
whereas
I
traditionally now it's black.
I knew that
Yeah.
white is another color, black is a color of mourning, white is a color of mourning, and I think there's some places that purple is a color of mourning. I believe, if I remember correctly. But
Yeah.
um,
So Mary just liked how it looked on her skin and wore white for her wedding
hmm,
to Francis. So
hmm,
yeah,
more power to her.
interesting.
Good for her.
But okay, three more questions because we're on question 8. True or false? Maybe this will be a little easier. Maybe. The
I have to.
reigning British
I
monarch
have a
does
50
not
fifty
need a
shot at this one.
passport to travel overseas. True or false? Do they need a passport?
The reigning monarch?
Yes.
I'm gonna guess no.
Correct.
False.
Yeah, correct. So that they don't No,
They
oh,
don't need it. I don't
wait.
know. Is that true or false?
Yeah,
I don't know.
they don't
They
need it.
don't need it. Whichever one
They
that one
don't need a
is.
passport.
Okay. Whichever
Okay,
one
yeah,
it is
you're
that
right.
they
They don't need a
don't need
passport.
it is the one that I'm going with.
It's a double negative. I always hate those. Those trip me up on the not the ACT, but the one for to get into grad school or what I can't remember what it's called. But that the double negative questions, I hate them.
Yeah, because that's not how people think. It's a
Yeah.
weird way to think.
hmm Um, okay. Question number 9. Members of what religion are expressly forbidden from becoming monarch of Britain? Buddhism, Judaism, Islam, or Catholicism?
Well, considering I just watched a movie about a Catholic trying to be the Queen of Britain, I don't think it's going to be Catholic. I don't think. Or am I wrong? Is it Catholics?
Yeah,
It's
it
Catholics. Okay.
is. I feel like you're
That's just the.
overthinking it,
That's
and
just. I
yeah.
probably am, but that's just like. That's.
So it was because of those things. So James the second, so James the first was Mary, Queen of Scots' son. He united the thrones. He was Protestant. James the second was Catholic, and then after him, he was removed from the throne in 1689. Parliament passed an act removing Catholics, and the rule is still in effect today
Hmm,
because they are Protestant. Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Last question. In Britain, which of these animals are by default owned by the monarch? Swans, frogs, foxes, or corgis? By default. Not what did Queen Elizabeth have?
Yeah, because Queen Elizabeth had corgis, which I was gonna. It's yeah. Um, swans, frogs, foxes, or corgis.
Mhm.
I know they do fox hunts there on a pretty regular basis. I'm gonna guess it's foxes or swans. So I'm gonna
Swans.
swans. Okay,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, I thought the same thing too at first because they do
They do fox
hunts, but
hunts.
those would be with dogs. They might hunt foxes,
Yeah,
but
they hunt. They hunt
um
foxes sometimes,
yeah.
right?
So swans were once a status symbol and a delicacy. I
Yeah, I've
don't know.
heard that
I
before.
guess it's just another bird.
Yeah, felt
In the
different than a.
1500s, Queen Elizabeth I claimed all swans were royal and default owned by the monarch unless already otherwise claimed.
Hmm,
I think that's funny. Says she also claimed some royal fish, whales, and porpoises.
hmm,
So, like, if no one else owns these, by default, the monarchy owns them.
okay. I mean, that's one way to kind of protect a species, I guess. I mean,
Yeah,
because if the
that's
monarchy owns
true.
them, I'd say it's probably illegal to hurt them in any way, shape, or form. But
Yeah,
okay,
I didn't
well,
think about that.
I failed that quiz. Um,
That's okay. I didn't
way
keep score. It was just fun.
way to go, me. Um, but I don't like failing quizzes, especially on the World Wide Web. That's not usually a good
The World Wide Web of our
the World
four
Wide
listeners.
Web. Yes,
We did have a listener from the UK.
yes, we
Oh,
did,
God. We just did such a bad job.
folks. Remember, insufficient friends,
Well,
insufficient. Yeah. So anyway, I think that means it's time for facts. Um, so Nick, what is your fact for this week?
so mine's going to be about Queen Mary, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Mary of Scots. Not Mary of England. Um, so Mary Queen of Scots loved golf. She played at St. Andrews, which is most people worldwide think of that as the oldest golf course in the world. Um, she is rumored to have started the term caddy based on a military cadet who carried the clubs for royal players.
Okay.
But
Interesting.
also, she was highly criticized for playing golf because after her second husband was murdered, Lord Darnley,
Mm-hmm.
um, she played golf apparently too soon after for mourning standards
Okay.
and was highly criticized for it. But It was interesting that it's rumored that she coined the term caddy. Who knows if that's true or not, but it's interesting.
Um, yeah, that is. I don't. I think people get too up in arms about things that don't really matter sometimes. Like, who cares if she went and played golf? Like, maybe that's the way she mourns people. Maybe that's just the way she mourns. I mean,
Well, back in the day, I mean, there were like strict, even the Victorians had strict like
yeah,
mourning periods. You had to like do a certain thing for a certain amount of time, and then you went on to the next tier where some things were acceptable, but you still had to mourn for a certain amount of days, and it was super strict.
yeah. Um, I don't know. I'm a person who believes that you grieve and mourn the way that you want to because everybody's different. But
Yeah.
you know, that's the way that goes. As far as facts for me go, um, I always thought it was interesting, and this I don't know if this is a fact or a well known thing or if I'm just kind of pulling things out of my rear. But I always thought it was interesting that the crown jewels are not owned by the family; they're owned by the public. They're owned
Oh, I
like
didn't know that.
yeah, the crown jewels. I don't, if I remember correctly, they're owned by the like British people, not the family,
Hmm.
which is interesting. I just figured,
Mhm.
it's just an heirloom that gets passed from family to family. Like once you become the royal monarch, you own the royal jewels or the family jewels. Or
Mhm.
there anyway. But no,
Yeah.
they're owned. From what I understand, they're owned by the public. Again, insufficient
Interesting.
friends. So if I'm wrong, just remember
Mhm.
I'm not that actually smart. There's a lot of forehead here,
This
but
is just our coffee talk about things we find interesting. So that way you go and do your own research.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, I think that's about it for this week, Nick. Unless you have anything else to say, I think we're about done.
Nope.
Okay, well, folks, hope you enjoyed hanging out with us for the last hour or so. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.